This video was a Patreon request from Perhaps a Dog. Welcome back to the Many Toys Of, the show in which we go over the action figure history of various Transformers characters. And this time around, it's time to talk about one of the most terrific Autobots to ever exist, a fearsome warrior, and a consummate professional. It's time for the Many Toys of Chromia. Before we begin, a big thank you to Brad Memo 3118, Master Far 8265, Subject B127, and a colossal thank you to the Crab Guy 2. Crab Guy 2 has been going to bat for Chromia for months now. And an especially big thank you to Perhaps a Dog for making a Patreon request for Chromia. Chromia is so fascinating to me. In theory, she should have just been a bit character. She's a satellite to another satellite, being the second in command to Elita 1. And I want you to remember, I love Elita 1. She is one of my favorite Autobots, if not my absolute favorite. And I love her debut episode, The Search for Alpha Trion. Chromia had such a great showing in that. But it was Chromia's only showing. Whereas Elita at least got to show up in War Dawn, Chromia, alongside her fellow female Autobots, only got to show up here. And moreover, she didn't have that much screen time. Nowhere near as much as Elita. And yet I'd argue Chromia stuck with people more. And admittedly, it's probably just because the memory of children isn't all that good. I know a lot of people who were from the G1 era, and they remembered Elita 1 as being RC. Just because they debuted so close to one another, people got them mixed up. And yet nobody forgot Chromia. As soon as Chromia steps on screen, we understand her perfectly. She is the no-nonsense second-in-command to Elita 1. And yet, despite being no-nonsense, she's a little bit more open-minded and creative than Elita. Elita is methodical, sensible. Chromia is a little bit more rambunctious and a lot more happy to fight. She was the perfect partner for Ironhide, both old veterans that adored to crush some Decepticon skulls. And on top of that, Chromia was a good counter to Elita. In the very limited screen time they had together, it's clear how this dynamic works. They're not so much superior and subordinate as they are friends, equals. Elita might be calling the shots, but Chromia is a trusted advisor, and it's just another reason as to why I wish we saw more of Elita's crew in the G1 cartoon. This is such an awesome unit. They have a great dynamic. Why have we never gone back to this? I want a comic story just about them fighting Shockwave. For all my talk of Chromia being a memorable G1 character, she still didn't get her first toy for 20 years. It took until 2005 for us to get the Timelines Chromia, and that's Moonracer. What the hell, that's absolutely Moonracer. I talked about that in the Many Toys of Moonracer. Well, you see, FunPub wasn't able to get the trademark for Moonracer, so they made Moonracer but just called her Chromia, which meant that Chromia's proper first toy wouldn't come for a few more years. Thankfully, we would course correct in 2007. In 2007, you would get the Target exclusive Scout Class RC. And yes, it's the same mold, it's the Energon RC, which is a great toy, but unfortunately, basically every woman character in the franchise had to use this mold at one point or another. The blue looks really nice on this motorcycle, and the robot mode is as great as always. I especially love the crossbow weapon. The red eyes are a little bit strange, but to be honest, I dig it. I think it works for this toy. And even though this was an RC toy, the IDW comic named it Chromia, and it feels like Chromia. Why are you trying to take this away from Chromia, okay? This is her first toy, it's a good one, live with it. Look guys, it may have taken 25 years, but Chromia finally got her due by appearing in one of the movies! She died almost instantly in Revenge of the Fallen. But hey, death has never been a reason to not get a good toy. And I know that the Revenge of the Fallen Deluxe Chromia is divisive, but I must tell you, this is one of the few childhood toys I still haven't been able to reunite with. And I know that my nostalgia is talking. I know that I am not being unbiased here, but I still love this toy. it's still one of my favorites from Revenge of the Fallen. Yes, it's funky and weird, and it can't stand up without that weird gun sled, but also, the motorcycle is just striking. It's beautiful. I'm not even a motorcycle person, but this looks cool. It helps that electric blue is so shocking. It's the same reason why I like Prime RC's colors. And then when the Chromia transforms, yes, I know, the motorcycle body is weird. I know that it's strange that you got the pogo leg and the spine. But also, it's good and weird and funky and kind of nightmarish, but in a good way, in a fun way, in a video game way, in a I want to see this in an anime kind of way. I still like the design of Chromia, which is weird because I hate this for Alita 1 and RC. I guess it's just the bias that I still carry for having this toy when I was so young. If you need a smaller version of this design, you'd be able to get Chromia in the Robot Heroes toy line. Come 2010, we'd get the Human Alliance Chromia. Unfortunately, Chromia was actually the pack and accessory figure with Human Alliance Mudflap, which is just its own type of disrespect. And I don't understand. This is a more screen-accurate version of this design, but I don't like it as much. Okay, it's been a rocky few years for Chromia, but in 2014, she would start to get more consistent releases, starting with her Generations Thrilling 30 figure. This is a heavy remold of the Prime Robots in Disguise RC, but I think that this is the best version of the mold. It got rid of most of the backpack, the colors look better, and it is kind of funny, with how much Prime RC borrowed from Chromia's character, it only feels fitting that Prime RC would be the avenue for us to get our first proper G1 Chromia. And it's an amazing look at the character. The robot mode is so slick. I especially love how they captured the head sculpt. Chromia's always had that very strange head going on, and I think that it's been sculpted well here, and the paint is an absolute delight. Once she transforms, I love this weird future bubble bike. It feels like something out of Tron. And the colors are doing a good job at conveying its very Cybertronian origin. Of course, this is also how Chromia appeared in IDW, so for anyone who's a fan of IDW Chromia and Windblade, and I know I am, I love those two, this is the perfect figure for you. Chromia would clean up in 2015, getting multiple new figures. Starting out small, you could have gotten the Tiny Titans Chromia. Takara Tomy would send out their version of Chromia, and truth be told, even though this is better painted and definitely looks a little bit more G1 accurate, I still prefer the Thrilling 30. I don't know, man, I guess I just like IDW Chromia more than cartoon Chromia. That said, my favorite version of this mold came from Combiner Hunters. That SDCC multipack gave us a truly shocking Chromia with extra red and a massive sword used to hunt down combiners. There are so many good repaints in this 3-pack, from this very ornate Windblade to the Stealth RC. Chromia, by comparison, actually seems to have the least change to her deco, but I think they've made solid choices, giving her a lot more white and red, and of course, the big sword. Big swords are cool! That's what Cloud Strife taught me. 2019 would give us quite a few Chromias, but unfortunately we gotta start on one that's pretty disappointing for me, that being the Siege Chromia. I was so excited when it was announced that we were getting a new Chromia more heavily inspired by the G1 cartoon. Especially knowing that she was going to come in the same wave as Ironhide. How perfect is that? But then we got Chromia and she's, let's say, problematic. She is very wibbly, multiple loose joints, and alongside that, there's not a ton of paint, which is weird. Siege was actually really upping its game with decos, and yet Chromia looked so bland. Alongside that, the backpack is something fierce. There's a reason for that. They made Chromia to invoke the power of the Prime's stick car. So she was supposed to look like Moonracer, Nova Star, Lancer, Greenlight, but the problem is that those four were all forming limbs for the Alita 1 combiner. Chromia's not a combiner limb. She can't be a part of Alita Infinite, which means she has the extra kibble and the Ifure transformation. She feels so samey for no reason than just to feel more consistent with her fellow female Autobots. I can kind of understand their reasoning. I suppose that the space cars they turned into in the Hunt for Alpha Trion all kind of look similar, but that doesn't change the fact that it feels like they shot Chromia in the foot for no good reason. Studio Series would also revisit Revenge of the Fallen Chromia, making a tiny, tiny version of the design that would come alongside RC and Alita 1. Chromia would get a little bit more love in 2020. Her War for Cybertron Siege toy would be repainted and put into the Walmart Netflix line. At the very least, she has more of a deco, but the battle damage looks so rough on her. I don't even know what's going on with that shoulder. Chromia would also reappear on television this year, thanks to multiple appearances in Cyberverse. Though she was never a major character, she was able to show up in quite a few episodes, and even get a good bit of spotlight in Dweller in the Depths. Here, she was kind of who she's always been, a steadfast warrior. Though this steadfast warrior was left on Cybertron when many Autobots fled on the Ark. That also meant that when the Decepticons came back before the Autobots did, she was captured, and seemingly had to watch all of her friends die in a booby trap. Thankfully, the Autobots were okay, they freed Chromia, and she was able to fight alongside them for the rest of the show. Again, she wasn't a major character here, but after years of being an absolute rock star in the IDW continuities, both of them, it was great to see Chromia back on TV. It felt like she had earned it. For all that praise, she only got a tiny turbochanger. And it's a cool tiny turbochanger, but it is still just a tiny turbochanger. That brings us to our most recent Chromias, both released in 2024. For one, you'd be able to get a reissue of the Studio Series Chromia in the Revenge of the Fallen 15th Anniversary Multipack. However, I would say that the best release of the year, and possibly of any Chromia ever, would have been the Legacy Cyberverse Chromia. And yes, it doesn't really look like Cyberverse, we've all heard that before, but it does feel the most like Chromia out of every toy she's ever gotten, at least to me. I'm just gonna say this, most Chromias just don't exude that same rough and tumble personality. They all seem a bit too fragile, a bit too thin. And that, unfortunately, is an issue across almost every woman character in this franchise. This Chromia, though, because it's a remold of animated Prowl, it has a lot of the bulk I'd want out of Chromia. She looks tough, she looks like she's been in many fights and wants to be in a good deal more. The colors are nice, the head sculpt is great, the transformation's a ton of fun, and the motorcycle looks good. Get this! I actually didn't like this mold as Prowl. I thought it didn't look a single thing like animated Prowl. And yet, as Chromia, it feels good. It's my favorite Chromia ever. I'd say it's the best toy she's ever had, and if you have a Windblade on your shelf, this is the Chromia that I'd say you should put alongside her. It just has all of the best parts of this character, her personality, her legacy, her history, all rolled into one deluxe class action figure. But hey, here at the very end, why don't we talk about the one third-party Chromia I've ever come across. This chibified version of her. And even though it's super deformed, I still like it. It feels like Chromia. There's something poppy about it. And that's it. I feel like Chromia has made a disproportionately large ripple throughout the Transformers fandom. She's never had many toys, she's never had many media appearances. In G1 she had one episode, in Cyberverse she was basically a secondary, maybe even a tertiary character. But that run in IDW really solidified her character. Even before that, Chromia had always been a fan favorite, something of a dark horse, similar to someone like, say, DevCon or Octane. They might not have had many appearances, but the appearances they got resonated with people. A lot of G1 fans remembered Chromia. Even people who didn't grow up with G1, going back and watching it, people resonated with Chromia. And I think it speaks to just how tantalizing the idea of Alita's team was to the fans of that time. During G1, we were so preoccupied with the Autobot war on Earth that it was cool to think that there were other pockets of resistance out there, other Autobots fighting different Decepticons. And it was nice that Alita contrasted so well against Optimus. It was cool to see this ragtag military unit being so strict, so strategic. It felt like you were watching a cool, badass army, and less the group of superheroes that we got accustomed to on the ARC crew. They felt a little bit more grounded. They felt like they had to be a little bit smarter, a little bit sneakier, a little bit craftier, maybe willing to resort to more morally gray tactics. And Chromia, I think to many people, embodies that the most. Whereas Alita could be blended in with RC to many people, Chromia's appearance, personality, and her connection to Ironhide made her stick out. It probably helps, again, that her being paired up with Ironhide, you're putting a fan favorite with another fan favorite. But even without that, I think that Chromia was just able to stand out more. It helps that she was an amazing second-in-command. I'm not trying to speak ill of the ARC crew, but just compare her to most of Optimus's inner circle. Whereas Prowl is a prick, and Jazz can sometimes be overlooked, Ironhide has a hard time thinking outside the box, Chromia is in many ways a perfect leader in her own right. She is calm, sensible, and yet still caring. If Moonracer messed up, Chromia wouldn't hold that over her, but it would become a learning experience. I think Chromia, in so many ways, is kind of the perfect Autobot, and in just as many ways, was the perfect second command to Alita. But guys, I'll ask you, which was your favorite Chromia, and is there a Chromia you're trying to track down right now? I'm hoping Jolt is going to be the next episode. That's probably going to be a Sunday mini-sode, but I'm not entirely sure yet. And this is usually where I would put in the pitch for Patreon, but I want everyone to remember, our friend Lee is currently battling muscular dystrophy. They have established a GoFundMe. I'm going to put the link to the GoFundMe in the description of this video. And I implore you, if you have any money that you are going to send to me on Patreon, please don't go Patreon yet. Go and donate a little bit of money to the GoFundMe. And if you donate to Lee's GoFundMe, the dollar amount that you donate will be given that Patreon reward. So if you give $1 to the GoFundMe, you will get access to my Discord server, Moonbase 1. If you give $5 to the GoFundMe, you will be able to watch videos early and download videos directly from me. And if you donate $10 or more to the GoFundMe, you will be a producer, you'll show up in the credits of all the videos I make, and you'll be able to make direct Patreon requests from me. Lee's a good guy, he's helped me out quite a few times, and I'm hoping that we can send a little bit of money his way to aid him in his battle with muscular dystrophy. Thank you all so much for watching. And hey, we'll see what we get up to next time.